there, I'm Una, and I'm a unicorn. And do you know what unicorns are bad at? Booking meetings. Except for me, of course. My secret? I use Cirrus Insight to schedule all my meetings. That's Cirrus, spelled C-I-R-R-U-S, Cirrus Insight. Cirrus Insight takes all the hassle out of booking and scheduling my meetings, cutting the amount of steps involved to half, if not more. Now, instead of a 43-message deep email thread where everyone's trying to find the right time to meet, I can just send them to a link on my calendar page. From there, anyone who wants to meet with me can see when I'm available and schedule a meeting. It's magic. Like me. And I should know a thing or two about magic. I'm a unicorn after all. But wait, there's more. Do you use Salesforce? If you do, Cirrus Insight can also remove most of the manual data entry involved with updating and maintaining your Salesforce environment. To learn more and start your 14-day free trial, visit cirrusinsight.com. That's Cirrus, spelled C-I-R-R-U-S, cirrusinsight.com. And tell them Una sent you.
Hello everyone, I'm your host and Salesforce MVP, Christy Campbell. Joining me on the show today is Allie Klinger, Principal Consultant at Cloud for Good and leader of the Charlotte Salesforce Saturday. You can find her on trailblazer.me at Alexandra Klinger and on Twitter at AKDKlinger. Today we're going to talk about forming connections to build your Salesforce community, so stay tuned.
Welcome to Cirrus Insights. I'm your host, Christy Campbell, and I'm joined today by Allie Irvin. Hi, Allie.
Christy.
Allie is the principal consultant at Cloud for Good and is also here in Charlotte. And I asked her to join me today to talk about her journey in the Salesforce community. So I think she really exemplifies building your tribe, right? Finding your Salesforce friendships or really network, right? Building that network to help build your own experiences. So I know I met you when you moved here, but tell me a little bit about how you got started working in Salesforce and getting into the community.
Yeah, so I I went to college for information systems. So it's sort of right in line with what I think I should be doing in life. And so I was at an organization prior to Cloud for Good, where they were looking to get a new database, or really just assess what they were using at the time. And so we went through the process of looking at the options out there, and we ended up landing on Salesforce. So I didn't know what Salesforce was at the time, and luckily we landed on it. And I started sort of that. I was there for 7 years, and it was sort of a 7-year journey as a solo admin learning Salesforce. And this was sort of pre-community, pre-trailhead. So there was a lot of learning and figuring things out on my own as things picked up in the community. And while we were there, we used Cloud for Good to do a number of conversions on Salesforce, and that's how I landed at Cloud for Good.
Okay.
And while I was at the time, I was in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And so even while I was there, I sort of tried to get into the community there as well, because I was like, I need help, I need support, because I was on my own at my organization. And so that was sort of my start into the Salesforce community. And I really just joined all of the groups I could join. So the nonprofit user group, the admin user group, and went to all of the things. And that was just my way to sort of figure things out and meet as many people as possible so I could learn and participate.
That's a really great point too about a solo admin, right? There's not as many ways to just bounce ideas off people and to have confidence that you're doing the things the right way, right? And I do think back then there were the start of blogs, and some people who had done certain things, and certainly there was less things you could do, right? But at the time, but I think it's really a great way to meet other people that think similarly and can, that you can have an idea and kind of have some reference to someone who may, can I just ask you about this? Or, hear an idea at a meeting or see something someone's done and, see then how that could benefit your organization itself. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, like, even though I was taking, a day off essentially in Los Angeles, you have to drive very far to get to anything. It was well worth the time because it ultimately benefited the organization I was working for. Because I always came out with something new that I could apply to the organization I was working at and make it better. Always, every single meeting.
When I was in Boston, when I started using Salesforce, I remember going to a user group meeting and they asked people to present things. Just, does anyone have anything to talk about? And I remember, like, I had built this object, and it was like nothing amazing, but I got up to show people, which, I mean, for me, I'm could talk to a chair for half an hour, right? So I'm not, I mean, introverted more than you'd think, but so I get that not everyone's going to volunteer to go up and share necessarily, right? But just the support of, like I say, it was an object to track my role. So I would get these requests that were similar but had slight variations, so that I could actually like prioritize them and report on what I had done, right? Which is, again, just a little dashboard. It was not even something my boss asked me to do, like that I was doing for my own self.
Yeah.
But just the support and I don't know, like I say, that moment of like presenting and getting good feedback from people, and just was a really great moment. I remember. So when I relocated to Charlotte, I also sought out those kind of opportunities. And of course, again, I'm a social kind of person, but I think even being there to listen and to network, even passively, right? I'm trying not to make it seem like we're both social people, so we're the only ones who go to user groups.
Oh, but that's part of, when I moved to Charlotte. So I grew up in Los Angeles and spent my entire life in Los Angeles outside of going to college. And so when I moved to a brand new city and knew absolutely nobody, I was like, okay, how do I meet people? Well, the one thing I know is Salesforce. So let me do this. I know that there's user groups, and I know that we have something in common, and that I know the community is super accepting. And so I am just going to join all of the groups to at least have something to do, because I work from home. So I was working from home already. And so I wasn't getting out anyway. And so I was like, okay, well, at least I can meet people and see somebody, once a month. And so I'm pretty sure, Christy, you were the first person I met. So I went to Salesforce Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Salesforce Saturday is an interesting one too, as an idea. If people are looking to maybe get more involved, or maybe they can't get out during the workday, right? And I think there's an interesting element to Salesforce Saturday as well in terms of self-improvement. So not that we don't talk about work stuff, right? And ours specifically here in Charlotte is, at a coffee shop with your laptop kind of conversation. We don't really do like presentations and topics,
Right.
so some groups do, but I think it's also about the investment in your own learning and your own advancement, right? And I'm talking about certifications, and even we set a goal together to go get certified, right? Like just that final push of like, just schedule it and go do it, that was really helpful, which is more years ago than I might care to admit. So, and Salesforce Saturday isn't an official Salesforce user group, right? So everyone, pays for their own coffee, right? It's not a Salesforce sponsored thing, but I think it's a really interesting thing that you kind of have to seek out a little bit more.
Yeah, you do.
In your own area, but could also be an interesting thing to start. So,
I think it's a really nice way. So, I think the user groups are a much more formal setting. And obviously Salesforce Saturday in every city is very different. How often it happens, when it happens, and where it happens. I think there's probably some range. I think in most places it's a little more less formal. And so I think it's a really good way to just like get in. You can really ask people questions and have really good one-on-one time, which is I think that's the benefit of Salesforce Saturday is you get one-on-one time. with people, ask questions, learn things, talk about literally whatever, like you said, talk about getting certified or talk about a problem you're having at work that maybe someone who's there has a little more experience in, that can literally look at what you're doing and try and help you. So I think that's a huge benefit of Salesforce Saturday. Or you're just around people and being social. So
right. And sometimes it is about, you know, like you said, talking to each other and getting opinions and one-on-one kind of, but it also could just be accountability time to sit next to each other and do the things that you say you're going to do during the week that you don't necessarily maybe get the time to do, whether that's Trailhead, whether that's catching up on all the blogs that you follow, whether that's, and then of course, sharing that experience, right? So talking about the blog topics of things that you found and introducing other people
absolutely
to those things. So, and then of course you also joined the nonprofit user group, right? So, and how do you think that presenting in those user groups has made a difference for you?
For me, it's a really, so I've sort of, when I first started my journey, I'm still on a learning journey, but I was on a much more rigorous learning journey. And so I'm sort of on the other side now, whereas I feel like I can give back, which is really exciting for me. And so it's a really good way, first of all, to make sure that I'm still learning. So I have things to teach people. And so I try to volunteer as much as possible to present. So that way I make sure that I'm continuing to learn and I'm up on everything that is going on and that's new, considering Salesforce is always changing. And so it keeps me excited in what Salesforce is doing and changing. And so I love to present. And it doesn't feel, at least from my experience in Charlotte, it doesn't feel overwhelming because everybody is really accepting. And like, even if it's a really simple little thing, everybody loves it and everybody is really supportive. And so I'm able to present and get really good feedback and people seem to get good things out of it. So I love that.
Well, and I think it's a really good reminder that, if there's this much to learn, right? Like even if you're here, like there's someone that's still here, there's someone that can learn from you. And as well as there's this much to learn, right? Yeah. So, I remember at one job, I was really into territory management because that was my thing. And then at another job, I was really into communities, experiences, cloud, right? So, getting people exposure to different things that are a part of what you do and sharing that knowledge, I think isn't just for the advanced people.
No, not at all.
If that's something that interests you, then I think that can be a great way with a local user group to start.
Yeah.
I can tell you they're always looking for content, I'm pretty sure. So, if there's something that you're interested in presenting and or presenting with, right? We've presented together on, which takes a little bit of the scaries out of it and gives you some accountability, friends.
Yeah,
I personally really need. How has meeting people in Salesforce kind of extended into the rest of your life?
I feel like here in Charlotte, I've met a lot of really amazing people that have become good friends. Christy, you've become my good friend, not just someone I've met in Salesforce. And I've also met other folks that, specifically one other person that now works, actually two folks that now work at Cloud for Good that I met through the Salesforce community, one of which has become my very close friend. So it sort of has given me my social life, which is great, and good friends, but also, keeps me going from a work perspective and from a growing and learning perspective. So coming to a new city, I needed that very badly. And luckily, I landed in a city that has a really great Salesforce community, and it has worked out and kept me here. So
that's awesome. I think too, we've talked about meeting in person. I definitely think there's online options as well. I think the key is really being intentional about trying to grow your network. I think
absolutely,
it's a unique industry, right? In that you can just stay home, right? Or stay in your silo and learn things and work, and that's fine, right? But I think just putting yourself out there, for me, has given so many opportunities of meeting people in other countries, right?
Yep.
Especially now with a lot of online user group meetings.
Yeah.
Meeting people in other areas, getting more active on Twitter,
Yes.
and following the people who write the blogs, and just like hashtag ask force, right? Seeing the questions that people are asking and being helpful to people and learning the resources that you have. I don't know, are you in many kind of like online community, Slack channel kind of community stuff outside of work?
I'm in the success community, so I use that as a resource and do post there. So I would recommend that definitely. Like, first of all, you can learn a lot there, and second of all, that is an amazing place to get help. Even if you think it's the silliest thing, you will have multiple responses within potentially minutes. And if you're not using that as a resource, you should be. Like, it is free help and free, really good help. I even heard someone was telling me recently that they needed some bit of code. They were asking an Apex question, and someone wrote the code for them and sent it to them.
Right.
Like, simple things like that. There was no cost to it. Someone just out of the goodness of their heart did it for them. So using the community, using Twitter, I think is actually one of the best places. I look at Twitter every day just to sort of like see what's happening and see what is new out there. See what's, I learn all of my news, Salesforce news from Twitter. I do. So that, I think, even if you're not sort of actively posting on Twitter, it's a really good place to sort of learn what's happening, see what's happening with folks in the Salesforce community, and just get quick little tidbits as well.
Yeah, well, and I think it's a great way too to have awareness, like you said, of others in the community that then translates to attending events, right?
Yes.
So at a Dreamforce CU or a Dream event, right?
Yes.
That you like get to meet the man behind the tweets, right? Like these people in person that you've been following and learning from. And again, getting that kind of cross pollination. I've got developers that I follow. I've got, nonprofit. I've never worked at a nonprofit, but some of the things aren't as relevant to me, but we all use formulas, right? Like there's certain things that definitely translate. So I think, following the people that you're interested in follow, right? I personally have curated Twitter really from a Salesforce bent. I don't, follow any of the Kardashians or anything. So it gets like learning who the new people are too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Within different programs, right? There's always new and different people that you can learn from. So
yeah,
I think for people who are just getting started, I think another strength that you can have is from finding a group that's kind of in the same area as you, right? Whether it's through a formal kind of training program, which I know Cloud for Good is starting a kind of cohorts, right? Of training students. So whether it's something formal like that through Pep Tech or through, what's the other one?
There's another one that I heard of, Talent Stacker, which is one.
If it's something formal like that, or it's just, seeing other people that just got certified, right? And kind of building yourself a group to grow with, I think could also be a really interesting approach of kind of, I know I've got a smaller group of about 6, right? That's my go-to for high level questions, but I'm also in the Salesforce Discord, right? For a little bit larger of a group, or a Slack channel for the Good Day Sir podcast, which is again, more developer focused and not super active all the time, but it's a way to stay involved and have people to ask those questions to.
Yeah. You probably pick up little bits here and there, right? When people are posting things that are just good information, even though you're not a developer, it's good information that will help you somewhere down the road when you're doing something.
Definitely. And I think So again, for you and I think meeting in person is a large part of it.
Yes.
And on Zoom works too. For the past while, although I'm excited to get back to seeing people in person and
Yes.
having those kind of just more casual, like intentional to get there, but not as directed conversations. But I think if you are more shy, if you are really whatever direction you want to approach it from, right? There's a user group, whether you're attending in person, you're attending online. There's people out there who want to be in a community with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a matter of
I mean, there's a level of intentionality that you have to have, right? Like you just have to want it and do it. I don't know that it necessarily even takes that much effort, but if you start in the community, I think that's a really good place to start meeting people and creating that your own little community. And I just highly recommend it because I think
together,
yeah, that's true.
to go attend Salesforce events and meet more Salesforce people.
Yeah, it's true. I think something about being a part of the community has made me ultimately overall a better Salesforce admin and a better consultant. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to be in my life and career. And so doing all of that is, I think, so important. And I always wonder, like why there are so many people that don't do any of that. And I'm always so confused by it because I just think I'm so much better having been a part of all of these things in the community.
I mean, clearly I'm biased, but I agree. So thank you so much for being with me. Another thing that, since we love the puns here at Serious Insight with our serious insights, when you do take an ad minute for yourself to keep learning, is there something you've seen or read or listened to recently that you want to recommend?
Yeah. I subscribe to Salesforce Ben, his blog, and actually one article that I read recently, he posts every single day, but one that I read recently that was really good is learning Salesforce roles and profiles in 5 minutes. So it's like a really good refresher of how you use profiles and roles, and it's an easy read. So I always get little tidbits every day. I read something from him and learn something new.
That's interesting too, because it's one of those things where you think but like there's always one little thing to learn, right? Yeah. Or one scenario, that's new, right? They're gonna the muting, restricting something, right? Like what you've learned in the past, and I think I know it, but do I? It only takes 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah.
For me, I have been reading about Apex rollups.
Ooh.
So James Simone has a post on Unofficial SF that is talking about what he's built. So a great example of something that, as an admin, I'm facing a challenge. A developer has built a thing that I can use to really extend what I'm doing in my work. So we'll link to that, but Unofficial SF is a great
tool. Yes.
For people who have just, again, built great things around Flow and other, the new Flow Orchestrator, other automation tools to help people be more successful with Salesforce. So
yeah, Unofficial SF is awesome. And it is a great way to enhance Flow. And since Flow is the future, it is.
There's our predictions for 2022.
But it's a great site to get some really cool components to add to Flow.
And then go to a user group and present about what you learned.
Yeah, Yay, absolutely.
Full circle. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me, Allie. And
thanks for having me.
Again on Serious Insights.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Serious Insights for Admins. Don't forget to get your 14-day free trial and free yourself from the drudgery of manual data entry. Start now by visiting cirrusinsight.com. That's Cirrus, CIRRUS, insight.com. And I'll see you next time.